She was just an 8-year-old girl, left to drown by the one person she trusted most. But when a mysterious husky named Balto emerged from the fog, the truth that followed would shake an entire city. The morning mist still clung to the mirrored surface of Silver Lake, soft and ethereal, a veil between worlds. The quiet was sacred, the kind of quiet that holds its breath before something breaks it. Then came the low growl of an engine, smooth, expensive, deliberate. A black Range Rover rolled slowly down the gravel road that led to the private dock, its tinted windows catching slivers of the pale dawn light. Behind the wheel sat Edward Kingston, a man whose confidence had once been mistaken for integrity. His dark hair was slicked back, his cufflinks gleaming even in the half-light. But his eyes, cold and precise, betrayed the restlessness of someone who had built an empire on deceit and now feared it might crumble. He adjusted his rearview mirror, studying the reflection of the small figure in the back seat. His 8-year-old daughter, Lily, sat quietly in her wheelchair, clutching a worn-out stuffed rabbit that looked out of place amid the luxury interior. Her golden curls framed a pale face too solemn for her age. The morning chill pressed through the car windows, and she shivered slightly, but she didn't speak. She had learned long ago that silence was safer. "Almost there, Princess," Edward said smoothly, his tone dripping with false warmth. "Just you and me today." Lily forced a smile, the kind children wear when they know it's expected. She glanced out the window, watching as the fog thickened around the lake like smoke. Something about the way her father's voice sounded this morning, too controlled, too careful, made her stomach tighten. On the opposite shore, Nathan Reeves was already awake, scattering grain to the few hens that still survived his bachelor carelessness. The former sheriff's joints ached in the morning cold, but his instincts remained sharp, honed by 30 years of seeing both the best and worst humanity could offer. His cabin sat nestled among tall pines, weathered but solid, a place built for solitude and reflection. The sound reached him faintly at first, a car door slamming, then another. He looked up, squinting through the mist, his old dog Blue barking once before quieting. There was movement near the dock across the lake, dark shapes blurred by fog. Then splash. A sound too heavy to be a fish, followed by a desperate strangled cry. And then the howl. It wasn't the wild cry of a wolf or coyote, but something sharper, closer, a dog's cry of panic and defiance. Nathan's heart lurched. Without thinking, he dropped the feed bucket and grabbed his binoculars from the porch rail. Through the trembling fog, he caught a flash of silver fur slicing through the water, muscles rippling beneath the icy surface. It was a husky, powerful and graceful, swimming against the current with something small clutched in its jaws. "Lord Almighty," Nathan muttered, his old legs moving faster than they had in years. By the time he reached the shore, the dog was almost there. Its fur was soaked, its body trembling from exertion, but it pushed forward relentlessly, dragging the limp body of a little girl toward the shallows. Nathan splashed into the water to help, his boots filling instantly with cold. He grabbed the girl's arm and lifted her to solid ground. Her face was pale blue, her small lips parted. "Come on, sweetheart. Come on," Nathan said, turning her gently onto her side. He began compressions, his hands steady despite the fear clawing at his chest. After what felt like forever, the girl coughed violently, expelling a gush of lake water. Her chest rose and fell again, shaky but alive. Her eyes fluttered open, startlingly blue. Dazed, terrified. The husky staggered onto the shore behind them, collapsing beside her. The animal's side was slashed open, blood seeping through its fur, but even in its exhaustion, it crawled closer until its muzzle touched the girl's hand. Nathan looked down at it, awestruck. "You're a hero, boy," he murmured, voice rough with emotion. "You saved her." The girl blinked, disoriented, and whispered in a hoarse voice, "His name, Balto." Nathan swallowed hard, glancing across the lake just in time to catch the faint roar of an engine disappearing into the fog, a black SUV vanishing back toward the highway. He looked down again at the scene before him, the bleeding husky, the trembling child, the empty wheelchair half submerged near the dock. There were tire marks in the wet gravel leading right to the edge, and two distinct wheel grooves that ended abruptly at the water. Dear God, Nathan breathed. He wrapped his jacket around the girl and lifted her gently, feeling how light she was. You're safe now, sweetheart, he said softly. You're safe. Balto rose shakily, following them despite his injury, his eyes locked on Lily with unwavering loyalty. Every step cost him strength, but he refused to stay behind. Inside the cabin, Nathan laid the child on the couch near the fire, stoking the flames higher. Mabel, the woman from town who came by sometimes to bring him pies and unwanted advice, had left a first aid kit. He used it now to clean Balto's wound, the dog watching him silently, almost intelligently, as if understanding this was necessary. Lily stirred, mumbling through half-conscious breaths. He didn't mean to. Daddy didn't mean to. Nathan paused mid-motion, his blood freezing. What did you say, honey? Lily's eyelids fluttered, her voice barely audible. Daddy, pushed me. Said it's better this way. Nathan sat back slowly, staring into the fire. He had seen monsters before, men who hid evil behind charm and money. But this was different. The dog shifted beside him, resting his head on the couch where Lily lay. Nathan looked at the animal, meeting those piercing blue eyes that seemed to hold understanding far beyond instinct. You knew, he whispered. You followed her here, didn't you? Balto blinked once, his gaze steady, unflinching. Outside, the mist lifted slightly, revealing the still surface of Silver Lake. But for Nathan Reeves, nothing about this morning felt calm. The quiet had been broken, and with it, the fragile boundary between the peace he'd chosen and the duty he thought he'd left behind. He rose, went to the window, and stared across the water where the Range Rover had vanished. Something was terribly wrong, and he would not rest until he found out what. Balto lifted his head, ears pricking as if agreeing silently with the vow his new ally had just made. The guardian of Silver Lake had begun his watch. The storm rolled in by afternoon, its gray clouds folding over Silver Lake like a heavy curtain. The soft drumming of rain on the cabin roof echoed through the wooden walls as Nathan Reeves sat beside the fire, studying the little girl who now slept under a wool blanket. Her breathing had steadied. The color had begun to return to her face, but her words from earlier, those broken fragments about her father, kept replaying in his head. He had seen many lies in his life, but children didn't lie about fear. Fear left marks that didn't fade easily. On the rug beside the couch, Balto lifted his head, eyes reflecting the firelight like twin shards of blue ice. Despite the stitched wound along his flank, the husky refused to rest, his gaze fixed on the sleeping girl, as though daring the world to try and harm her again. Nathan found himself speaking to the dog without thinking. You're the only reason she's alive, boy, he said quietly, pouring himself a cup of coffee. But I need to know what I'm dealing with. A soft knock broke the silence. Nathan's hand went instinctively to the revolver on the table before he remembered himself. He opened the door to find Mary Collins, his neighbor from across the road, a retired nurse in her 60s, gray hair tied in a bun, her eyes sharp as ever. I saw your truck parked wrong way by the trail, she said, stepping in without waiting for permission. What happened and who's the girl? Nathan sighed. Long story, short version, she was in the lake. Dog pulled her out. I think her father tried to kill her. Mary froze mid-step, the wind howling outside like a warning. Good Lord, Nathan, you'd better not be guessing about that. He handed her the folded child's jacket. Found this caught on the dock rail. Tire marks lead right into the water. No sign of accident. And she said it herself before fainting. Mary knelt beside the couch, brushing damp curls from the girl's forehead. Poor thing, she murmured. Looks malnourished. And these bruises. She gently rolled up the sleeve of Lily's pajama shirt, revealing faint purple circles around the upper arm, old ones, some fading, some new. No child does that to herself. Balto growled softly, sensing their worry. His head rested protectively near Lily's arm. Mary glanced at him. That's a fine animal you've got there. He's not mine, Nathan replied. Came out of nowhere. Saved her life. Mary frowned. Then maybe fate sent him, because something tells me this girl wasn't supposed to make it out of that lake. Nathan nodded grimly. I'm starting to believe that too. By evening, Lily woke. The fire had burned low, casting the room in amber half-light. She blinked, disoriented, then looked around, spotting Balto first. Her lips curved faintly. "You're okay," she whispered. The husky's tail thumped once. Nathan leaned forward. "Hey there, sweetheart. You're safe now. I'm Nathan. This is my friend Mary. Do you remember what happened?" Lily hesitated. The air thickened with unspoken fear. "Daddy said we were going on a drive. Just us. He parked near the water and said he wanted to show me the ducks." Her voice faltered. "Then he pushed my chair. I fell in." Mary's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, honey." Lily looked down, twisting the ribbon on her rabbit. "He said I made Mommy go away, that if I stayed, people would find out what he did." Nathan exchanged a heavy glance with Mary. "What he did?" Lily hesitated again, as if reciting something forbidden. Mommy worked for his company. She had a big folder with papers. Daddy was mad about it. They shouted all night. Then Mommy went on a trip and never came back. The room seemed to contract around her words. Nathan felt that old detective's pulse return, the one that had helped him read truths no one else wanted to see. "You remember your mom's name?" he asked softly. "Claire," Lily said. "Claire Kingston." Mary froze. "Kingston, as in Edward Kingston?" Nathan nodded grimly. "The same. CEO of Kingston Foundation. The man who gets his picture in the paper every month for helping sick kids." He poured himself another cup of coffee, though his hands were trembling now. "And now his daughter's telling me he tried to drown her." Balto shifted suddenly, ears pricking up. His head turned toward the window, nostrils flaring. Nathan followed his gaze. Headlights were cutting through the rain. A police cruiser. "Damn it," he muttered, setting the cup down. "How the hell did they—" Mary whispered sharply. "You don't think—" "Oh, I think—" The cruiser slowed in front of the cabin. A beam of light swept across the porch. Then a loud knock shook the door. "Sheriff's Department," a voice called. "Mr. Reeves, we've had a report about a missing child. Edward Kingston claims his daughter's been kidnapped." Lily gasped, clutching Balto's fur. Nathan's mind raced. He couldn't hand her over, not without knowing more. The wrong move could send her straight back to the man who wanted her gone. He whispered quickly, "Mary, take her to the cellar. Back door under the trap door by the stove. Go now." Mary didn't argue. She wrapped the blanket around Lily and guided her silently toward the back. Balto followed, moving without sound despite his size. Nathan opened the door a few inches, just enough to meet the rain-soaked deputy standing there. Deputy Harlan, young and nervous, hat dripping wet. "Harlan," Nathan said, forcing calm into his voice, "what brings you out here?" "Sir, we've got an active search for a missing girl. Her father said she may have wandered near the lake this morning. He's pretty torn up." "I haven't seen anyone," Nathan lied smoothly. "Just me and my dog." Harlan peered over his shoulder, suspicious. "You sure? We're checking every property within 10 miles. Nathan's jaw tightened. "You calling me a liar, son?" The deputy flushed. "No, sir. Just doing my job." "Well, so am I. My job used to be keeping men like Kingston in check. Now, unless you've got a warrant, you can get off my porch." Harlan hesitated, then muttered something into his radio and stepped back. "We'll be back if we find anything." Nathan shut the door quietly, exhaling the breath he'd been holding. The rain pounded harder, masking the sound of the cruiser driving away. When he lifted the trap door, Lily and Balto were crouched in the dim space beneath, eyes wide. "They're gone," he whispered. "For now." Lily reached into her pocket and pulled out something. A small silver locket shaped like a heart. "Mommy told me to keep it safe," she said softly. "She said if anything happened, I should find Mr. Reeves. She wrote your name on a paper." Nathan's breath caught. "She knew me?" Lily nodded. "She said you helped her once, when people at Daddy's office were scaring her." Nathan took the locket gently. It was engraved with tiny initials, CK, and faint scratches along the edge, as if someone had tried to pry it open but failed. When he tilted it toward the lamplight, he noticed something glinting inside, a sliver of metal, a key smaller than a coin, hidden beneath the photo. "What's this?" he murmured. Lily shrugged. "Mommy said it opens the truth." Balto's tail flicked once, as if in agreement. Nathan stood, pocketing the locket. Then that's what we'll find, sweetheart. The truth. Outside, the rain kept falling, washing the lake clean of tracks of evidence of the morning's sins. But inside the small cabin, under flickering firelight, 3 lives had already begun to intertwine, bound by fate, by fear, and by the silent loyalty of a silver-eyed husky who understood more than words ever could. Tomorrow would bring questions. But tonight, for the first time in years, Nathan Reeves had a purpose again. And he would not stop, not until the man who tried to kill his own daughter was exposed for what he truly was. The morning broke sharp and cold, sunlight glinting off Silver Lake like shattered glass. Mist hung low over the pines and the cabin seemed even more remote, a secret sealed in wood and shadow. Inside, Nathan Reeves sat at his old kitchen table, the silver locket spread open before him. The tiny key inside gleamed faintly against the grain of the wood. Across from him, Mary Collins poured coffee into tin mugs. "So Claire Kingston left that for her daughter," she murmured, "and she told the girl to find you. Nathan, what were you to her?" He stared into the steam rising from his mug. "Years ago, before I retired, Claire came to me, said she'd found something wrong with her husband's charity, funds disappearing, ghost accounts. I told her to be careful. The next week she was gone." Mary's lips pressed into a thin line. "And everyone said it was a car accident. Except there was never a car." Nathan's voice was quiet, almost bitter. "They found pieces of her purse near the cliffs, but no wreckage, no body." From the couch near the fire, Lily stirred. She had been awake for a while, listening quietly, her small hands tangled in Balto's fur. The husky lay stretched beside her, his head resting protectively across her lap. His breathing was steady now, though a faint scar marked his side. Lily sat up slowly. "Mommy said the truth was locked away," she said softly. "She said I'd know where to look." Nathan turned to her. "Do you remember anything else, sweetheart? Maybe where she kept papers? Or anyone she trusted?" The girl frowned, thinking. "We had a little house in Portland. Mommy had a safe behind her painting of the ocean. But when Daddy got angry, she moved things. Then she gave me this." She touched the empty locket. "She said if I ever lost her, this key would help me find her again." Nathan exchanged a look with Mary. "Portland Trust Bank," he muttered. "If she had proof of his fraud, she'd want it somewhere secure." Mary nodded. "And if she mentioned your name to the bank, it might be waiting for you." Nathan rubbed his temples. "Only one way to find out." He looked at Lily, who seemed smaller and braver than any child should have to be. "We'll go tomorrow," he said. "But we'll need to be careful. Kingston's probably got half the state police looking for you." Balto lifted his head, as if he understood the gravity of those words. His tail brushed lightly against Lily's leg, a silent reassurance. By noon the next day, the 3 of them, Nathan, Mary, and Lily, were on the road to Portland. Lily sat in the back seat of Nathan's dusty old truck, bundled in Mary's oversized coat. Balto curled at her feet. The highway stretched endlessly ahead, the sky bruised with clouds. As they neared the city, Nathan's mind raced. He had been away from this world for years, away from the corruption, the headlines, the lies that men like Edward Kingston bought with money. But stepping back into it now felt inevitable. Portland rose before them in steel and glass. Nathan parked in a quiet alley near Portland Trust Bank, its marble facade gleaming under the weak sun. He adjusted his hat low and turned to Lily. "Sweetheart, when we go in, you'll stay close to me, all right? Just like you did at the lake. If anyone asks, Balto's your therapy dog." Lily nodded solemnly. "He is," she said simply. "He helps me not be afraid." Inside, the lobby was hushed and expensive, filled with soft echoes and polished stone. A young banker approached them, her name tag reading Sophie in neat letters. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you today?" Nathan cleared his throat. "I'm here to access a safety deposit box, number 317. It belonged to Claire Kingston." The woman blinked. "That box has been inactive for over 2 years. Do you have authorization?" Lily stepped forward, holding the locket in her small hand. "My mommy said this would prove it." Sophie looked down, startled, then frowned slightly. One moment, please. She disappeared into the back office. The seconds stretched long. Nathan's pulse drummed in his ears. Then Sophie returned. Her expression changed softer now, cautious. Mrs. Kingston left specific instructions, she said. Access granted only if her daughter appeared with a husky wearing a blue collar. They all froze. Balto looked up, tail flicking once, as though understanding the significance of his own presence. Sophie led them to a quiet private room. She slid a large metal box onto the table and stepped back. Take your time, she said, then left them alone. Nathan inserted the key. The lock clicked open. Inside lay folders, photographs, and a sealed flash drive labeled in neat handwriting, for Lily and for the truth. His hand trembled slightly as he plugged the drive into his laptop. The screen flickered to life, revealing a video file. The image of Claire Kingston appeared, tired, beautiful, eyes shadowed with fear, but unwavering. Her voice filled the room. If you're watching this, it means Edward has found out. I was right. He's using the charity to launder money through shell hospitals and fake grants. He's hurting people, Nathan, real families. I tried to stop him. He said if I spoke, he'd make me disappear. Her eyes softened. Lily, sweetheart, if you're there, I love you. Never believe what he says about you or me. You're stronger than he'll ever be. Trust Mr. Reeves. He'll protect you. And Nathan, this drive holds every document you need to prove what he's done. Take it to the federal office. Don't wait. The video ended. For a long time, no one moved. Then Nathan spoke, his voice low. She knew it would come to this. Mary wiped her eyes. God help her. But before they could speak again, a new sound shattered the silence, heavy footsteps echoing down the corridor outside. The latch on the door clicked. Nathan reacted instantly, closing the laptop and pushing Lily behind him. The door swung open, and standing there, drenched in rain and fury, was Edward Kingston himself. Two uniformed officers flanked him, their faces unreadable. Well, Edward said coldly, I see my daughter's kidnappers have been busy. Lily gasped, clutching Balto's fur. Daddy, please. Not another word, he snapped, voice cutting through the air like a blade. You have no idea what you're dealing with, Reeves. Hand her over before this gets ugly. Nathan's jaw clenched. You already made it ugly, Kingston. You tried to drown your own child. The officers glanced uneasily at one another, but Edward ignored them. He stepped forward, eyes burning. You think anyone will believe you over me? I own the evidence. I own the law. He reached inside his coat, and Nathan's instincts flared. He moved before thinking, pushing Lily back as Balto lunged forward. The husky's growl filled the room, deep and primal. Edward froze, hand halfway to the gun at his belt. Call your dog off, he hissed. Not a chance, Nathan said. Then another sound, a woman's voice, calm and cutting. You always did underestimate people, Edward. Everyone turned. Standing in the doorway was Claire Kingston alive, her hair shorter, her face leaner, but her eyes unmistakable. Beside her stood two men in dark suits, FBI agents. Edward's face went white. No, you're dead. Claire's gaze was steady. No, Edward, I survived you, and now I'm here to finish what you started. One of the agents stepped forward. Edward Kingston, you're under arrest for embezzlement, attempted murder, and obstruction of justice. The color drained completely from Edward's face as the cuffs clicked around his wrists. Lily's sob broke the silence. Mommy? Claire dropped to her knees, arms open. Sweetheart. The girl ran into her embrace, clutching her mother, as if afraid she might vanish again. Balto circled them once, then lay down beside them, tail sweeping gently across the floor. Nathan exhaled for the first time in what felt like hours. Justice had finally stepped out of the shadows, but he knew this wasn't the end, only the beginning of healing. Claire looked up at him through tears. Thank you, Nathan, for saving her, for saving both of us. He shook his head. You should thank him, he said, nodding toward the husky. He never gave up. Balto looked up, ears twitching, as if to say he hadn't done anything special. But they all knew the truth without him. None of them would have made it this far. Outside, rain began to fall again, soft and cleansing, as the police led Edward away. Inside, beneath the hum of the storm, The past had finally spoken, and the future, fragile but free, had just begun. Spring came slowly to the Oregon mountains. The last snow melted from the slopes, and the air filled with the scent of wet pine and new life. Beyond the ridge, hidden from the main road, stood a small farmhouse surrounded by fields of wildflowers and an enclosed garden where hundreds of blue monarch butterflies floated in soft clouds of color. The locals called it Blue Haven. Inside that house, the sound of laughter, fragile but real, floated through open windows for the first time in years. Lily Kingston, now walking with the help of braces, steadied herself on the wooden porch rail. Her small hands trembled, but determination burned in her bright blue eyes. A few steps behind her, Balto padded quietly, his silver coat shining in the afternoon sun. Every time Lily stumbled, the husky moved closer, bracing his shoulder gently against her leg so she wouldn't fall. "Easy, girl," said Mary Collins, watching from a rocking chair. "One step at a time." Lily grinned. "Balto's helping me cheat," Mary chuckled. "If that's cheating, then I hope you never stop." From the garden, Nathan Reeves emerged, carrying a toolbox and a handful of nails. His gray beard glistened with sweat. He had spent the morning building a new ramp beside the porch, one that Lily wouldn't need for long if her progress continued. "How's our champion doing?" he asked. Lily straightened proudly. "5 steps without falling." Nathan smiled. "That's 5 more than yesterday." Balto barked softly as if confirming the score. Inside the house, Claire Kingston stood by the kitchen window, watching them with eyes that still couldn't quite believe this piece was real. Her once sleek business suits had been replaced by soft sweaters and jeans. She carried no makeup now, no mask of professionalism, only the quiet dignity of a survivor who had chosen to live again. The last months had been a blur. Investigations, court hearings, statements to the press. But through it all, Nathan and Mary had stayed beside her, witnesses to every step of justice being restored. Edward Kingston, once a man whose face graced charity galas and glossy magazines, now sat behind federal bars. The trial had exposed everything: the embezzlement, the falsified hospital accounts, the attempt to silence his wife and daughter. He had looked at Claire once across the courtroom, eyes hollow, lips curling in disbelief as the judge pronounced life imprisonment without parole. But the day of his sentencing, Claire hadn't looked back. She had walked out of the courthouse hand in hand with Lily, and with Balto trotting proudly beside them, she whispered only 3 words. "We're free now." The days at Blue Haven were simple. Nathan tended to the garden and fixed things that didn't need fixing. Mary kept the house warm and baked pies that filled every room with cinnamon and sugar. Claire started writing again, her first book, The Price of Silence, a memoir dedicated to those who speak the truth, no matter the cost. But it was Lily who brought the house to life. She painted, sang, and filled the meadow with laughter. Her therapy sessions became less about learning to walk and more about learning to trust again. One afternoon, Nathan found her sitting in the field. Balto stretched out beside her. The sky was pale gold, butterflies drifting lazily around them. "Thinking deep thoughts?" Nathan asked. Lily smiled. "Mommy says people change when they're near the truth. Maybe the truth is like the sun, it burns, but it makes things grow." Nathan looked at her, startled by the wisdom in her small voice. "Your mother's right. The truth hurts before it heals." Balto lifted his head, tail flicking, as if agreeing. Lily reached down and scratched behind his ear. "He knows," she said. "He always knows when something's wrong." "Yeah," Nathan murmured. "And he always shows up when you need him most." They watched in silence as a blue butterfly landed on Balto's nose. The husky froze, cross-eyed, then sneezed softly, making Lily laugh so hard she nearly fell backward. Nathan joined her laughter, the sound echoing across the valley, bright and free. That evening, the family gathered on the porch for dinner. The sun melted behind the mountains, painting the lake in shades of copper and rose. Mary poured lemonade into mason jars while Claire lit the lanterns that hung from the rafters. Lily took a deep breath, bracing herself on Balto's back. "I want to show you something," she said. They watched as she took one careful step, then another, and another, until, without support, she stood tall on her own. "Lily!" Claire's voice trembled. "I can walk, Mommy," she whispered. Balto taught me. The husky wagged his tail proudly, looking from one face to another. His blue eyes caught the last rays of sunlight, glowing like ice and flame all at once. Claire knelt beside her daughter, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You're my miracle," she whispered. Lily shook her head gently. "No, Mommy, he's the miracle." A few weeks later, a small ceremony was held in Portland. Cameras flashed as an FBI representative pinned a golden medal onto Balto's collar. The plaque read, "For extraordinary courage and loyalty, Balto, the guardian of Silver Lake." Reporters surrounded them, but Balto ignored the noise. His gaze was fixed on Lily, who now stood without braces, holding the medal's ribbon with both hands. When she leaned down to hug him, he pressed his forehead against her chest and let out a soft, contented whine. Nathan watched from the crowd, pride swelling quietly in his chest. Mary wiped her eyes with a tissue she pretended not to need. Later, back at Blue Haven, the house glowed under the evening sky. Balto lay near the porch steps, half asleep, his head resting on his paws. Fireflies blinked lazily across the field. Inside, laughter echoed once again, soft, real, full of life. Claire stepped outside for a moment, wrapping her arms around herself as she looked toward the horizon. She whispered, more to the wind than to anyone else, "Sometimes angels come without wings." Balto's ears twitched, his eyes opened, and he gave a soft, low bark, the kind that said, "I'm listening." She smiled. "And sometime," she added, "they come with fur and blue eyes that see everything." From the porch doorway, Lily's voice floated through the twilight. "Mommy, come inside. Balto wants to play." Claire laughed, brushing away her tears. "Coming, sweetheart." She turned one last time toward the lake, calm now, peaceful, reflecting the rising stars, and whispered, "Thank you." Then she stepped back inside, closing the door gently behind her. The night deepened. The wind whispered through the pines, and out in the meadow the blue butterflies rose together in a slow, spiraling dance above the silver-coated husky who watched over them all, the silent guardian of Silver Lake, whose courage had turned tragedy into light. The end. Before we begin, tell me, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow's story will melt your heart.